Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to Fallstake. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys the perfect iPhone camera settings to capture amazing photos and videos. These settings, I would say, are correct iPhone camera settings in order to get perfect looking images and videos every single time. This is going to be an in-depth tutorial. I'll walk you through the settings app as well as introduce you to every single hidden feature within the camera application. And if you keep watching until the end of this video, I'll share with you my favorite photo editing app, which you can use to turn a mediocre photo into a stunning, beautiful image. Hopefully you guys are excited. Let's dive right into this video. All right, so first and foremost, let's start off with the basics within the settings app. Right here, as you guys can see, this is the settings app. Go ahead and open it up. Once you open it up, what you need to do is go all the way down where it says camera. Right here, as you guys can see, go ahead and click on it. Once you open it up, this is all the settings that you need in order to set up your camera application in a perfect form. So let's start off with the formats. If you open it up, first thing that you have is the camera capture. This is a file format. When you're taking a simple basic photo, it's going to either save it as a high efficiency or most compatible. Most compatible is the JPEG files that's compatible with many different platforms, and it's easy to share on social media and many different platforms like this. High efficiency will save you file. It's the HEIF file or the HEVC file, which is going to save you a lot of space storage. If you're running low on storage, you can use the high efficiency. I just leave it as the high efficiency, but this is not the most important thing. The most important thing I would say is the next section where it says photo capture. For all the Pro versions from 11, iPhone 11 Pro, 12 Pro, 13 Pro, all the way up to iPhone 14 Pro, all of those devices have that Pro RAW option. And if your device have the Pro RAW option, I would highly recommend you to turn this on. If you go to Pro RAW resolution on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, you have the latest 14 megapixel resolution available as well. Just because you turn this on does not mean that you will every single time shoot in RAW, because if you just come to your camera application right here, you have a quick, easy option to enable and disable RAW at your fingertips. You don't even actually have to, shoot RAW every single time. You can quickly just switch between RAW and regular photo. Just turn this on. That way you have that option. If you just turn it off right here, you will not have that RAW option in your camera applications, which is not good. I think having that option is really, really important. The next section is the video capture. This is for, again, those Pro iPhones with that ProRes resolution feature available. This is where you're shooting at super high quality ProRes. It's one of the most popular formats for video professional post-production. For those of you who are professionals, you have to turn this on, because again, just because you turn it on, it does not mean you will be shooting ProRes every single time. It's nice to have this option, especially for those of you who are professionals and you want to capture some high quality ProRes videos. You can easily do that on the go, just like this one. You can easily turn it on and off. Just keep in mind that ProRes takes so much space in your device. Right here, as you guys can see, you guys can read through this. But moving forward, the next section that we need to go to is record video section. This is all the settings that relate to the video capability of your iPhone. We're going to start off from the top. Right here, as you guys can see, you have these menus. If you enable PAL, which is irrelevant for most people, this is for television video format. If you enable this, you will get more options, but by default, I believe it should be off. If it's on, just turn it off, because most likely you don't need this PAL format. Now, which format you should shoot? Should you shoot at 1080p 30 frames, 1080p 60, 4K 60, 4K 30? Which one is the best? From my experience as someone who films, right, in various different lighting conditions, low light, sunny day, as well as posting for social media, I do some professional work as well. I film for YouTube. From my experience, overall experience, shooting at 4K 30 frames per second is the best, I would say, correct setting for majority of the cases. If you want to obviously save space, then of course you could shoot at 1080p at 30 frames per second. If you want to get a little bit more cinematic look in your footage, then I would recommend you to shoot at 4K 24 FPS. Only thing is that when I'm shooting 4K at 24 FPS and I share that video on my social media, it just does not look that well. I just like that at 4K at 30 frames per second, especially for my videos that I share on social media. I just think that it looks a little bit more smoother and better in my opinion. So I just leave it at 4K 30 frames per second. Moving forward, we already talked about this. Next thing is enhanced stabilization. Make sure you turn this on. By default, this might come turned off. Make sure you turn this on. This is for those of you who want to get stabilized footage. I think majority of people, if you're shooting with handheld, you'll have somewhat of a shakiness, right? Even if you're just shooting still without moving, without walking, you will have that shakiness. And if you turn this on, you will have that stabilization, that internal image stabilization, which is a really handy feature future, I would recommend you to turn this on. Action mode is only for iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max devices. If you have the action mode, I would say turn this on when you're shooting in low light. Action mode will decrease the stabilization to optimize for less bright scenes. I would say this is a really good feature to turn it on. HDR video, if you have this turned on, please turn it off. For majority of the people, HDR video is pretty much useless, especially right if you're posting for social media. HDR video look horrible. If you're asking why my videos look horrible on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, then most likely you have the HDR video turned on. Make sure you turn this off. This is not a good version to post on social media. I would say this does not look that good. It's not a perfect iPhone camera setting, only for certain cases where you want to get that high dynamic range in order to do some post-production stuff. For those of you who do that, it might become handy, but for majority of people, you don't need it. Just turn it off. Auto FPS is where you have that auto FPS that reduces the frame rate to 24 FPS during the low light conditions in order to improve the video quality. I would say turn this on. This comes handy, especially in low light conditions. Lock camera, I just turn it off. Next thing is record slow-mo. To be honest, I don't shoot slow-mo at all. For those of you who shoot, you may want to set it at the highest FPS that is available. For me, it's 240 FPS at 1080p. Moving forward, cinematic. Again, I don't shoot cinematic that often. I just shoot regular video. I just think that cinematic video looks a little bit more artificial. It does not give you that natural bokeh that you get on a professional camera. So I just completely turn it off. Better to use the regular video, but you will still have that, natural bokeh when you're shooting. As you guys can see, you have that natural bokeh when you're shooting. If you don't want that, I personally don't like that. So I don't like to use cinematic that often. But if you do use, I would say get the highest option that is available. For me, it's 4K 30 FPS. Once you set that up, next moving forward is the record stereo sound. This is a setting that you should turn it on because obviously you want to get that stereo sound. Next thing is preserve settings. These are just an extra bonus settings where if you want to have customized settings, for example, if you shot last time in portrait like this and you close your camera applications, if you have that camera mode on, preserve the last mode, when you open it up, again, it opens up at that same exact setup that you left. For example, you shot portrait last time, that's how it's going to open up. If you shot video last time and you close it, it's going to open video again when you open up that camera app if this is turned on. But you guys get the idea. Moving forward, we have a bunch of different controls that you can enable. What I like to enable is micro control, just so that I have that macro icon on the bottom. This one right here, when I am shooting macro right here, as you guys can see, I can easily turn on and off like this. And another thing that I have turned on here is the Apple ProRAW, obviously, and then the live photo. I don't like to set automatically live photo on. That's why I just turn this on, so that way I don't have live photo every single time. If I want to shoot live photo, I have that ability. I think it's good. I understand why some people like shooting a live photo to get that long exposure and all that good stuff. I personally don't shoot that much live photo. That's why I turned this feature off on right here, so that way it does not shoot live photo automatically every single time. But again, if I want to shoot it, I can just simply tap, and that way it will shoot a live photo whenever I need it on the go. But moving forward, guys, if you go back again here, we have the use volume up for burst. These are some minor things. It's not that important. If you want to shoot with your volume up burst quickly, you can do that. Scan QR codes, show detected text. Obviously these things should be on. But now going into composition, this is where it gets very interesting. Grid, I love shooting with grid just to get a really good composition. If you turn this on, you will have that grid right here, as you guys can see, those lines. In order for you to have that perfect aligned symmetry to get that good composition when you're shooting, I think this is really handy. You should turn this on. Next thing is mirror front camera. I'm gonna explain what this is. You know how when mirror front camera by default is turned off, when you're shooting selfies like this, look at this, I shoot selfie and I open the image that I shot, it's flipped, right? This is by default because front mirror camera is turned off. But if you turn this on, which I like to leave it as turned off right here, as you guys can see, if you shoot like this is exactly what you will get. Exactly what you will get, as you guys can see. Just like on Instagram, when you're posting story, you take a picture of yourself, the result is exactly as you shot. If you turn this on, that's what you will get. And I like to get exactly what I shot with the selfie camera. That's why I leave this on. Majority of the people, I recommend you guys to leave it on as well, because I just think that it looks better. You can pose and exactly you will, end up as exactly how it looks in the viewfinder right here. So you guys get the idea. Make sure you turn this on. View outside the frame. This is a personal preference. I like to leave it on. Some people don't like this. Moving forward, photographic styles. This is introduced in the latest iPhones. You have that personalized effects. If you want to use that, you have all of these different effects. You can also add this in after you take the photo, so it's not that important. I just like to shoot it in a normal, natural look instead of adding any styles. But afterwards, when I'm editing within the Photos application, I can easily do that if I want to add that effect. Prioritize faster shooting. This should be on in order to get that image quality when rapidly pressing that shutter. Lens correction, I have it on. Macro control, I also have it on just for that automatically switching to ultra wide camera when I shoot closer up images. But this is everything for in terms of camera settings within the settings app. But now let me walk you through the camera app and show you some hidden features, some things that I'm sure that you have never thought about. So this is the camera application, basic camera application. This is what I like to use, the native iPhone's camera application instead of using some third party. I know some people use it, but this for me is everything that I need. I don't need any extra. So the number one thing that most people don't know know about is that when they want to reach to the menu, they press on this arrow in order to get this menu pop up on the bottom. But there is another way to do this. For example, if you're shooting with one hand, you can easily swipe up right here. You guys get that, yeah? You can get all the menus pop up easily with just that swipe up, instead of reaching all the way to the top and clicking that arrow just to get that same exact menu. So you don't actually have to do anything on that top area of your camera app. You can easily reach to everything that you need. For example, you have the RAW, easily you can turn it on and off. You have that photographic styles, all of those things that affect. You have a timer if you want to set it to timer, set up your phone on a tripod and shoot a group photo. You can do that easily. Exposure, you can change the exposure. I don't like to mess around with the exposure too much because I do that in post-production when editing. And then you can change obviously the aspect ratio. For those of you who want to shoot in square, you guys can easily do that here. And for those of you who want to do 16:9 for Instagram stories and stuff like this, you can also do that easily by going here. You have that, again, those standard photographic styles. And then live photo, obviously, for those of you who want to easily and quickly turn on and off, you can also do auto. It automatically detects movement in your photos and, turns on live photo by itself. I just like to turn it off. Flash, and again, the flash, you can have easy access to it instead of reaching all the way to the top where there's that flash icon. This one is hidden, but you can easily unveil it by clicking on that swiping and then clicking on that flash icon easily. But you guys get the idea. This is everything for the photo application. Yeah, everything when it comes to shooting photo. But obviously you have the video here. You can easily enable, again, that swipe up. You can easily enable ProRes. You can turn it on. You can turn it off. On the go exposure, you have easy access to it. Action mode, if you want to turn it on when you're shooting while walking, or maybe you're driving or like a passenger in a bumpy road. Yeah, you want to get that stabilized footage. You guys can turn this on, especially on the latest iPhone 14. This is the feature that is available for iPhone 14 Pro devices. And then again, the flash is easily available for you. If you want to switch between resolutions, you guys can also do it here. You can easily switch. Let me turn off action mode. 4K, 30 frames, 60 FPS right here, as you guys can see. You can easily switch through these settings without actually having to go to the settings application and setting up here. You can easily do that on the go as well. But that is pretty much it. Cinematic, slow-mo, time-lapse, I don't usually use them that much, but you guys get the idea. It's pretty self-explanatory. But it comes to portrait, I also tend to not use them that much, just because, again, that creates that artificial bokeh. I don't like that. Instead, on the latest iPhone 14 Pro and the Pro Max, what I found is that when you shoot a regular photo and it's close up, it does a really good job of blurring the background, the natural bokeh. That's what I prefer instead of that fake portrait artificial bokeh. But for some people, I understand why they might use it. Walking you guys through what these 0.5, 1, 2, 3, what do they mean? So basically on the Pro versions, you have the 3 cameras. One of them is the regular 1x camera. One of them is ultra wide 0.5x camera. Another one is the telephoto, which is the 3x. So this one is one angle, yeah, with the one lens, and 1x is with other lens. 2x is just a zoomed in version of that 1x. Yeah, it's nothing, it's doing nothing, it's just zooming in. Because it has that 48 megapixel, you can just zoom in, yeah, digital zoom, and your quality still comes out really good. But if you do 3x right here, then it's using that telephoto lens, which you guys can use for close-ups, portraits, like portraits. I'm not talking about the portrait feature, but like portrait shots, you guys can do that with the 3x. I tend to use 1x most of the time, and I usually shoot in RAW like this. That way I have a lot more data to work with. When you use RAW, when you shot in RAW, you have so much more data to use when you're editing. For example, you have the white balance, you can easily adjust the colors, the exposures, everything that you can adjust. You have just more flexibility when shooting a RAW. So once I have the footage, everything set up, how do I edit? How do I go from just mediocre photo into a stunning, beautiful image? How do I edit? App that I use is called Lightroom. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with this application, Lightroom, but what you guys don't know is the full potential of this application. This application is super powerful that you guys can use to edit mediocre photos and turn it into a stunning, beautiful images, especially if you shot RAW. That's why I always shoot in RAW, even if it takes up so much space. Yeah, once I shoot the RAW, I go ahead, import it to Lightroom, edit, save it, and then I delete the original RAW file because I don't need it anymore, because it takes up so much more space. Some pictures, yeah, just one single picture of RAW picture might take up over 100 megabytes, which is a lot, right? If you shoot a lot, that's why you can easily delete the RAW after you have edited and everything. That way it does not take up so much space in your device. But so let me just walk you guys through how I edit on the Lightroom applications. Right here, as you guys can see, let's say I go ahead and edit this beautiful picture. Right here, as you guys can see, natural look, shot in RAW, 48 megapixels. First thing that I do is I go ahead and open up the preset. You guys can use any presets from any of your favorite photographers and all of this stuff, or you may have your own presets, but I just like to stick to whatever the Lightroom offers within this premium as well as recommended. Recommended, I tend to not like it because it does not give you that good looking preset. I'm just gonna wait a few seconds until this pops up. Right here, you guys can can see it's either too much or too little, you know what I mean? That's why I just like to stick to premium. I like to go to mostly adapt guy for landscapes like this. If I'm shooting a portraits of people's face, I like to go to portraits and select through here. But for this instance, let's go ahead and change the sky to sunset, or even let's use like a little bit of a storm cloud. Right here, you guys can see before, after, it just changed the sky. The next thing that I like to do is go ahead, open up the light. I like to increase the exposure a little bit, increase contrast, and bring down the highlight. Right here, as you guys can see, bring up the shadows a little bit, whites, depending on how the picture is looking like, either increase it or decrease it. Blacks, in this case, blacks like this, I like it a lot. Right here, before and after. Also, for those of you who want to use the curve, obviously you guys can use that in order to get that S looking shape, just to bring that contrast. You guys can see right there. And also you can individually play around with the specific colors, green, blue, that RGB. You guys get the idea. You guys can also play around with that. Next thing that I like to do is the detail. Sometimes I like to either decrease it or increase it depending on how the photo is and how it was shot. Another thing, the most important thing that I do is the geometry. For example, this photo, in terms of its composition, it's not the best, but with this specific feature, the geometry feature, I can easily change around even in the post-production. Right here, as you guys can see, first thing that you need to do is you need to enable constrain crop. Right, that way whenever you change the distortion, vertical, horizontal, rotate, aspect, anything that you do, it just zooms in order to get rid of those white lines on the side. Otherwise you will have this white lines or that white background. If you just enable this, it will switch it for you. Distortion right here, I like to fix the rotation, horizontal. I mean, this is all specific to how the image was shot. Certain things you need to rotate a little bit, certain things you need to zoom in a little bit. You guys get the idea. This is all just goes from personal preference and how you want your picture to look. But now if I show you the before and after, you guys get the idea. Look how much of a difference it makes. Before, after, boom, a lot better, a lot cleaner photo. The only reason I'm able to change this much of things within the photo is because I shot in RAW. It enables me to do so much in the editing process because it has a lot of data. But you guys get the idea. Once you want to save it, you just save it directly to your camera roll by exporting it, or you can directly share it to your social media that way. But nonetheless, this is everything it for this perfect iPhone camera settings tutorial. I hope this video was helpful. I hope this video will help you take some high quality photos as well as videos and helps you level up your video and photo game. Hopefully this video was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Smash the like button because it really helps the channel out. And also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe down below to Fosstech for more exciting tech content just like this one we post weekly on this channel. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you guys next one. Peace.